Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Wellsy Weekly Podcast, the show where I talk about anything and everything. My name is John, aka Wellsy, and you are listening to episode 51. How is everybody doing this week? I hope you are well. I hope you've enjoyed the summer, or at least the 2 days of summer we had last week, where it's just like scorching hot and then all of a sudden we got a really freak thunderstorm, which I quite liked. You know, I'm one of these people that's weird and likes thunderstorms. And you know it was a good thunderstorm when it started to rumble the house. I literally looked up from my book and I was like, oh, this is really bad. But then it passed away in like 15 minutes, so it was absolutely fine. Anyway, today we're not going to actually be talking about the weather as much as I'd love to. No, today I actually want to talk about puzzles and puzzle solving, because I really like puzzles, you know. I just find it an interesting way to just spend my time, and I also like working out things, which is the whole point of a puzzle, so that's good. So before I jump into today's topic, my question for you today is very simple. Do you like puzzles? Yes or no? If you want to share your thoughts and opinions, let me know down below in the comments. You can also vote in the little top right hand corner of your screen as well. So let's get started with something that I'm going to basically call paper-based puzzles. And I mean stuff like Sudokus and crosswords, you know, anything that requires, you know, a piece of paper or a grid or anything like that, and you've got to write down or jot down answers. And I know I've mentioned on the podcast before that I'm really into numbers. I quite like maths and stuff, so things like Sudokus really stand out to me because one, it's a puzzle, you know. I like puzzle solving. It gives me a sense of enjoyment once I've figured it out without cheating, of course. And then also it's the fact that it's got numbers in as well, and just finding patterns, I just think that's quite interesting. And it's quite interesting to see how you can basically apply the same techniques to each puzzle or each Sudoku, like grid I suppose, and it can still work out, which is really nice as well. Though I don't know what everybody else's tactics are for a Sudoku. I think that's how you say it, Sudoku. I used to call it Sudoku, but then people told me I was wrong, and you know, I don't want to be wrong, so I think it's Sudoku. But if I am wrong, I do apologize. Anyway, the tactics that I use for a Sudoku or a Sudoku, oh god, it's really stuck in my head now. Anyway, the puzzle. I usually go number by number. I do it quite methodically, I'd say. So I'll look at the ones. If I can see any ones that can easily be, you know, identified, I'll put them in. Then I'll go on to the 2s, the 3s, and work all my way up to the 9s. Then, once I've gone through a round of all the different numbers, I'll repeat it to see if, you know, any more numbers I can improve on, or write down or jot in. And I'll basically keep repeating this process until I've either A, finished the puzzle itself, or B, got no more spaces that I can clearly identify. And then I'll either look inside a grid, or like one of the little squares, or the 3x3 squares, and see if I can fill any numbers that way. Then I'll go onto the lines to see if there's any numbers I can fill in line-wise. And I also got the little, you know, jotting down the little numbers as well. Do you know that tactic where you just basically, if it's a potential number that can go in, you just write a little number instead? I'm not sure. I use it and it seems to work, and I think it's, you know, a big common tactic because it's on my little app as well. Oh, speaking of my app, I think my app makes it worse or harder to actually do a puzzle. And I feel a little cheaty when I use the little online app because it highlights the same numbers, so it makes it really easy to like identify, which is good. But then when my friend gave me, you know, a Sudoku, it took me a bit by surprise. I was expecting the numbers to just appear, just highlighted. I don't know why. So I was just like, oh god, it took me a little longer, but not too long, so that was good. But yeah, overall, I quite like Sudokus. They're quite fun. And they're definitely better than a crossword, because I don't do enough reading, so I don't know enough words. I mean, I do read, it's just comic books, and I don't think that basically counts as actual reading. Well, I suppose it does, depends on how you look at it. Anyway, another kind of paper-based puzzle that I really enjoy are nonograms. Now, for those who don't know what a nonogram is, it's basically another grid that you basically have to fill out the little squares. It's either a black square or a blank square basically, but on the rows and columns there is numbers, and each of these numbers represent how many like consecutive black squares or squares you can fill in are. It's hard to explain without showing you, Basically, it's just like a logic puzzle, and you've got to work out from these clues which squares to fill in, basically, and it usually results in creating a picture, which is really cool as well. Now, I've also got another app for this, and I was really salty at it the other day, to be fair, and I'll tell you why. So, I got really close to finishing every puzzle in my app, which is already about, I don't know, 500, 600 individual puzzles. So I was like, oh, I've almost finished it, great. And then it updated itself with about 500 new puzzles, which is good because that means I can do some more. But I was like, I really just want to 100% this thing, you know. I've been working on it for years, literally I've been working at this app for years. It is insane. I usually do them on a night just before I go to bed, and it was just really annoying because I was this close to the end. I was maybe 10 puzzles from the very end, and then they were just nah, let's just give you 500 new ones. It was terrible. But yeah, I'm just personally annoyed because I was I just like to have something 100% completed. I do it a lot with games. It's particularly last summer I did it with a lot of PS2 games. This year I'm doing it a lot with my Xbox 360 games as well. Maybe next summer I'll go through my Steam account and see how many I can complete that way. Who knows? But anyway, back to puzzles. Now, it's not just paper-based puzzles that I like as well. I also like physical puzzles that you can twist and turn and interact with, basically. And I've got a lot of them on my shelves as well. A lot of knickknacks and ornaments, not the crisps knickknacks, the ornaments kind of knickknacks, you know? And one of my favourite puzzles that I've actually owned is a Rubik's Cube, but this is an evil Rubik's Cube, right? Because it's not just an ordinary I'm having a real hard time saying words today. It's not just a Rubik's Cube, and it's not an M&S Rubik's Cube. This is an evil Rubik's Cube. Do you want to know why? Because it changes colour. That's right, the colours start changing, because it's that material where if you look at it at a certain angle, basically the colour changes. And, you know, this is evil, a really evil thing, because it messes with your head and gives me a migraine all the time. It's just not fun. I mean, I had to look up the algorithms as well because I'm almost certain I couldn't do it without it, and I don't suppose many people can actually figure it out without the algorithms. So if anyone has actually worked it out without looking at, you know, an algorithm first, well done, good for you. I mean, you're absolutely crazy, and you know, you're not as crazy as the people who speedrun these things as well, who can do it in 5 seconds or something stupid like that, which I don't understand. They must pre-plan them things. But anyway, I also have another little puzzle that I like to call my little Smarties puzzle, and the way this one works basically kind of reminds me of, you know, those number locks where you've got to turn a wheel basically, which 9 different numbers or 10 different numbers on it, and you spin that 4 times and it basically unlocks a little padlock. This kind of works the same way, except there's 8 rows, so there's 8 wheels you can turn, and then you can also slide these little Smartie pieces basically along the wheels as well, so then you can really jumble this thing up. And it was really fun to try and figure it out, to be fair, because it was just so colourful to look at, and it was also, you know, just mesmerising, just flicking all these little Smartie pieces around basically. I managed to figure it out though, managed to work it out in about half an hour originally, and I can probably do it in about 5 minutes now, so big improvement. It was just a really fun puzzle. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how to work it out just in case you ever find a puzzle like this, but basically, once you find an algorithm or just basically a technique that works, you can just repeat that on every wheel basically. So it was not too hard to understand, but it was good fun. I like those puzzles where it's not too hard, but it's not too easy either, you know? Just a nice balance in the middle. And finally, I have a nut and bolt puzzle, which was actually bought for me by my flatmate. So big shout out to him, you know, it's pretty good. And it's basically it's made of metal, and the aim of this puzzle is to get a little nut out of these 2 bolts. But it just looks cool for a start because it's made of metal. It's like all golden looking. It's really cool. The annoying thing is you can hear the nut inside because you've basically got to unlock this thing basically. Now I won't spoil how to work it out, but it was something where you knew what to do, but the solution was so exact that it was really hard to just like get it perfectly. I mean, eventually I did work it out, after a few days, which was a really good feeling. I had like a whole week, well, not a whole week, maybe a couple of days trying to figure that out. But when I did, it was a good sense of achievement, I'll tell you. And now I've even found an easier way of doing it, which is really nice as well. It's nice to see how there's multiple ways to like do a puzzle basically. And I definitely prefer my second way of working it out because it's so much easier. And with that said and done, I think that's it from me today. Talking about puzzles has been fun. It feels like an uncommon topic, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. But anyway, I'll remind you that the question for today is, do you like puzzles? Remember, you can leave a like or a comment down below, or you can vote in the top right hand corner of your screen. So with that, I shall leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, and remember, enjoy a cuppa.